So, good morning, good afternoon. Today's Silicone session is myself, Nathan Reuby, based here in Brighton, UK. And today we've got the fairly elaborate Amit Malhotra from Romakk. And Amit, you're calling in from India, I believe, and welcome. So whereabouts in India are you based?
Well, technically I'm a nomad, but I'm as a domicile, I'm based out of New Delhi, the capital city of India. And that's where I've always been all my life.
Super. And just for the audience, so Amit is part of our advisory board, one of our newest members, giving us a really good insight from not just the chemical side of the business, but new and emerging markets, especially within India. And I think this is where this will form part of our conversation today. But I think really, Amit, should we start with you explaining your good self, who you are, what you've done, where you're going, etc.?
Sure. So I'm going to take a few minutes and just to give you a synapse. I still feel I'm 28 years old, which I'm around the area of, but I've spent 25 years in the silicone industry. Personally speaking, my parent company is called McCoy Group, and we have a bunch of businesses in the group. And started off as a trading company, one-man operation way back in '95. Went on to becoming a distributor for one of the largest German multinationals in the silicone sealant business. And with the French, with the Australians, with the Americans, with the Europeans, worked with 20 plus companies from 99 till 2009 as an Indian international distributor. Silicones was a core part of the business. Then joint ventured with Soudal from Belgium. They're the largest sealant company in the world today. We ran a joint venture with them called McCoy Soudal. And we have a largest manufacturing plant in India, which is sealant is the core of the group McCoy. Alongside with that, silicone as a chemical was also a part of the business from the beginning, which my father had brought to the business in '92. Taking that journey forward, I converted the trading business in 2011 to a company called McCoy Performance Silicones Limited. Continued the business till 2019. And I realized that the vision that I have, it needs much more expertise, capital, as well as growth potential. So the story of Romakk is a really, for me, it's a personal endeavor of putting 5 entrepreneurs and locking them inside a room and making a company out of it. So the discussion started with Rossari Group, Mr. Sunil Chari and Edward Menzies, who are a listed $1.2 billion company called Rossari Group. McCoy and KK are my earliest partner in the manufacturing of the silicones for textile, agrochemicals, personal care. And actually was just to brainstorm the idea of putting 5 of our brains together along with our organizations into one company to grow the midstream silicone business from India to India and from India to around the world. So it's 5 people with 25 to 30 years of expertise, somebody in R&D, somebody in sales, somebody in distribution, somebody in hardcore manufacturing, all the and finance, of course, and all the different sciences put together. So Romakk, R-O, Rossari, M-A is McCoy, and KK is KK Chemicals. So that's the constitution. We've finished our first year of operation, and I'd be happy to tell you we did fairly well in our first year. In the second year, we plan to expand 6 times from our first year. So the plan is very aggressive. So we have now built Romakk to be a global company. That's why we are at the Silicone Expo in the United States. And I would welcome anybody in the US who's looking at opportunities to get products produced, R&D, segmented, OEM'd. We'll be happy to work with them.
Amazing. Well, what a good place for you guys to start, kick off and meet the right people. Now, one question for anyone out there who might not be as familiar with some of the terminology you used. Where do Romakk sit within the supply, the value chain of silicone? I mean, what do you provide, and who are you looking to sell to?
Right. So it's a good question. So our expertise for the last 20-25 years has been to sell textile silicones, which are used as softeners, hydrophilic, hydrophobic, to garment manufacturers. And with Rossari as our partner and Romakk as a company, we produce close to 10,000 tons a year, or maybe more, of only textile silicones. When Romakk was being created, we got into some backward chemistries of something called as block polymer, block silicone, silicon surfactants for agrochemicals that we had been researching on for last many years. So ideally, our target consumer globally would be people who are either distributing these kind of products from other multinationals or people who want to get into manufacturing of these products in their relative countries. So for us, a target customer is not an individual consumer. It has to be a partner, a distribution partner, or somebody who's already buying, let's say, from some other countries, and they could look at supply chain from India. So we are not producing the basic silicon. We're in the midstream, but we have a lot of technology which helps you save time, and we've got a great R&D facility which can actually make any kind of silicon products that you want.
All right, interesting. I think one question that's going to be hot topic and hot on the lips of a lot of people attending is about getting their hands on products and getting their hands on material. Now, obviously, the pandemic caused a bit of a slowdown with that, and I know in North America, some of the large companies are trying to increase capacity and outflow. Can you guys step in and help with that? Do you think? Can you sort of fill some gaps?
To be honest, the silicon world is controlled. It's wrong to say this on a public forum, but it's dominated by some large players in Europe and America, and of course, half of the world is dominated by the Chinese manufacturers. So the supply chain is pretty much controlled within that particular sphere from the basic material. But how I look at it in my 25 years, that each country has a significance of importance of how the raw material suppliers look at that country. So at some point, India was very prominent. Sometimes it was not. But nowadays, because of the growth potential that we have as an economy, we have a pretty good access to buying raw materials from around the world because all the sources have opened up. So I don't think that from a upstream product potential that Romakk is a good opportunity, but when you're looking at downstream products for textile, agrochemicals, home and personal care, shampoos, raw materials for all of that, we stand to fit from technology, 100,000 metric ton manufacturing capability. We have 3 manufacturing plants of Romakk and Rosari where we can produce all the tight technologies and make sure that it's quality certified. I think from a perspective, looking 20 years down the line, Nathan, India will become a major supplier of silicons. It has been only a consumer now, but with Romakk, we're trying to take it out. We have the ability. We just need to find the right partners who are looking at quality and consistency.
Interesting. Well, that leads on to the question I was going to ask next, actually, is with regards to India as a whole, not just Romakk and where Romakk fit into that, but India as a whole, as an emerging market for this material. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you said in 20 years, India is going to be a major player. I mean, what other drivers do you think there are for that?
I'll tell you what I recently learned via my conversations with different manufacturers. So silicon as a material is used in automotive, it's in construction, it's in textile, it's in agrochemicals, it's very big in home and personal care, it's used for insulators, electricals, it is used as an adhesive, it is used as a water repellent, it's very big in print and paper, packaging. So silicon is a material which actually, funnily speaking, Nathan, that Silicone Expo, your Silicone Expo, and I could say it's your Silicone Expo, is the first Silicon Expo that I have heard of in the last 25 years of my life. Because silicon is like a H2O, gets plugged onto every show. Automotive show, there are silicon people. Paper show, there are silicon people. Construction shows, there are silicon people. But what has been, I'm sure, challenging for you to understand, where do you stand as a Silicone Expo? So this is the first time there's an expo where actually silicon producers or ancillaries will come up. Having said that, India is close to $1 billion silicon consumption market today, give or take a few. Figures may be off 20%, not plus, but maybe minus. But we are inching towards $1 billion consumer market. At the rate of growth of the Indian mobile industry, automotive industry, I would see that the growth of silicon consumption would be at anything between 15 to 20% CAGR. So if you're looking at 20 years down the line, I'm thinking that India would be nearly a $4 to $5 billion market for silicon.
Amazing.
Not 20, maybe 10 years down the line.
Very good. Yeah, it's very interesting. Good for us. Maybe a Silicone Expo India, Amit. What do you think about that one?
Well, I think Nathan, the epicenter where the product is produced, because India is more a consumer market, right? So for us to evolve, we'll have to become exporters, and then we'll have to become real manufacturers of the basic material. And then it's a good time. But I think what you've taken the path of starting out in the US, and I'm as an individual and as well as my five co-founders, we're all blank about the United States. For us, we're going to enter into a green zone. So they in one of the board meetings, they were asking me, so what do we expect from the show? I said, we'll expect to have some nice food and some nice wine and meet some nice people. And that's that.
Well, I'm hoping it opens some business opportunities for you guys.
Absolutely.
Now, before we were on air, you and I were discussing the growth of the show, what we're expecting for this year. Now, this is obviously the first event for the first ever Silicone Expo, and with that, we'll after the show we'll look at where there were gaps, how can we build on it, which is normal. I think for an event like this and for such a large industry, it's going to build layer upon layer. Every year you'll see more of this coming, maybe less of this.
Right.
And then eventually in 5 years, I foresee this as being a huge event, not just 110 exhibitors, but I think 400 plus from across the supply chain, value chain. So it's an interesting one, but I'm hoping not as some nice wine and some beers, you'll walk home or you get the flight back and have some good business cards and make the right connections. That's the aim.
Of course, that is the aim. But my style is always to give the maximum under expectation, so that even if you get from 0 to 1, you've done better.
I like it. Yeah.
And I would say this to everybody who's coming to the Silicone Expo as a participant, as an organizer, exhibitor, that this is the first such event. So I would sincerely, humbly advise everybody to come with no expectations. And even if you get lucky with something good, you met some nice people, you met some nice contacts, yes, for business, and you can build on that. And I think that's where I'm coming from. So every time I've done something new, I said I go with 0 expectations.
I think it's a good way of looking at it, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. People keep asking us, exhibitors, do you have a demographic of people coming? What do you think on this? It's really hard to tell because it's a free to attend show. And when it's a free to attend event, you have loads of people register. They might not turn up because they haven't paid for the ticket. And then you have loads of people turn up during the 3 days, just turning up and coming through. So it's really tricky until we've done the first event. Then we can really look at analysis and look at gaps and stuff like that. But I like it. I like your outlook. That is one other thing. You actually are speaking on the conference as well. So I believe on the manufacturing track, day 2 or 3. Can you tell the audience what you're going to be speaking about?
Well, I don't want to bullshit my audience right now. I'll probably bullshit them when I get there. But having said that, I'm still forming up. Romakk is a very new company. We have very clear vision as of today. We're still forming up our vision. And I would really, one word is for us to make in India and export to the world. That's in short what we intend to do.
Great. Well, we're happy to facilitate with that.
Yeah. So, the Indian brain is a very versatile brain. Also, not only from the point of view of developing stuff, copying stuff, developing and re-engineering and being more cost competitive. So we look at connecting with people there, and that's all the objective of the show. So if you want to have an alternative supply chain partner, come to us in Silicon.
Very good. Awesome.
Other than that, I think, Nathan, I have no expectations more than being there. And I think you guys have done a splendid job because I've been watching and we've been with you since the beginning of how you started. So I can only say the best of luck. And then the 3 tiring days, I'm having fun and looking at, because even we have spent 25 years, I still consider myself and my partners as babies in the Silicon world, really small. So there are going to be like forefathers and grandfathers in the show. I'd like to come and fold my hands and say namaste to them and say hello to them and tell them that we also are alive and well. So give us your blessings, and with the pure intent of doing good business for the world, that's the intent that we intend to go for the show.
Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to meet you in person, actually. I mean, I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Starting on the Monday when we have the advisory board dinner. So I think a few glasses of wine will be shared there. And I'm sure everyone visiting and listening will really enjoy your company and listening a bit more. And obviously, don't forget to tune into your session on the.
Yeah. Also, if you're gonna spend more than 10 minutes with me, then you got to start paying me. Or maybe just buy me a
How long is
beer or
it gone on
something.
for? I better turn this off now. All right.
No, you already owe me 3 beers, and today the 4th one just got added. So very good.
Done. That's fine. It's interesting actually. I have a Dutch acquaintance actually, and he said, "You now owe me 5 very warm beers." We have this. Everyone thinks that we have warm brown beer here in the UK, ales, and he's like, "I want the warm one, not the cold one." So yeah,
I'd like to pass a message from my other directors, co-founders, Mr. Sunil Chari, Mr. Edward Menzies, Nitin Agarwal, Nitin Sethi, and Sumant, that a few of us are going to be there at the show, and we are all there to learn. So we're going to have our scribble pads ready and try to learn as much as we can about the American ecosystem for silicons and how we can contribute. And that's the essential aim, to be there. And we look forward. I think that's that.
Us too, Amit. Well, look, thank you so much for today, calling in from India. I know you're 4 or 5 hours ahead there. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to work with you actually in the years to come. And wishing you all the best. And thank you very much for today.
No worries, mate. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.